Now, across Texas, the issue is.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
And I'm Greg Krugen in Houston, and this is Texas, the issue is.
For our discussion, the issue is the DEI purge pushback. Since January, when SB 17 took effect, college administrators all across Texas have been shutting down diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. In response to that, members of a faculty labor union rallied at the University of Texas here in Austin, calling on school leaders to stop the rollback. I spoke to two members about why they believe some form of DEI should remain on every campus.
SB 17 is a lie. DEI is justified.
I would like the university to restore the programs that were lost. I believe they were lost to please political forces in the state.
Faculty and staff, educate. Texas lynch, indoctrinate.
I never understood what people were saying about what was wrong with it, because all we're trying to do is make a better campus for more students.
There are some programs that are viewed to be divisive, where we start breaking people up into compartments. You're in this tribe, you're in this tribe, you're in this tribe. Do you feel that we can move away from that?
Well, it's not either or. So there's got to be space for people who come from marginalized backgrounds to have their own space, to represent their cultures, to just feel comfortable. A campus like this, it's like can be really hard if you're a student of color, for example. And so it's nice to have spaces that are meant for you.
When did those who advocate for equality become enemies of this state?
DEI has become a four-letter word. Can the concept be rebooted, and do you think it could be less divisive?
We are a diverse group of people, so diversity is already here. Equity and inclusion are not. We need to keep working at equity and inclusion, and we need to acknowledge how many different kinds of people we have in Texas, how many different kinds of students we have, and we need to work to support each other, and we need staff who help us do that as well.
There are people who will say, Texas already is doing that. We recognize we're diverse, and we recognize people should be treated fairly. Why do we need DEI?
I don't see that happening outside of DEI. I see the purge of staff who had decades of experience, many of them, working with students to help them succeed. I think that purge shows that we're not doing what we need to be doing.
But at the expense of another race? Because that was the argument against DEI, was that, all right, we're lifting up one group, pushing down another.
I don't think anything about DEI pushes down another group. It is lifting up people who have been marginalized, people whose parents and grandparents did not have the chance to go to college. It is uplifting us all.
Don't we already have these protections in place, affirmative action, discrimination laws?
I mean, well, we don't really have affirmative action anymore. That's pretty much been thrown out the window. You know, discrimination is about a very kind of particular legal definition, and it doesn't get at, for example, microaggressions and the kind of little things that happen to students on the day-to-day that make being on a campus like this really hard. And all DEI was a Band-Aid to try to make life a little bit better for folks.
So how do we reboot this? How do we come together, especially during these times?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need people to come together in earnestness. So not just to prove that my point is right or for you to prove that your point is right, but really to hear each other.
Sum up that interview with purge, which is the word used by the faculty protesters. Stephen, what's your word for what you just heard?
I'm just going to say partisan.
Greg, take us to a break with a word.
Rudy, my word is reparation.
Well, the issue is certainly divisive. The Texas Trio will come back together again in a moment to discuss the DEI campus pushback. The issue is the DEI campus shutdown and pushback. Faculty at UT Austin who support diversity, equity, and inclusion programs claim the shutdown and recent job cuts unfair. Now, during a recent rally in Austin, supporters of DEI said they believe they were complying with the new law. Greg, are any modified DEI programs still operating in the Houston area?
Rudy, as you would expect, private institutions here in Houston like Rice University and St. Thomas University continue to operate in a manner they see as both appropriate and beneficial to their students, and that includes robust DEI programming, regardless of what state-funded and regulated colleges are being ordered to do. The rationale goes something like this. Students in some ethnic communities face challenges that others simply don't, and DEI resources can help level a playing field that's been traditionally uneven on multiple levels. Now, here's the rub, and it's a serious question. When does that academic, cultural, and economic playing field become level? And who makes that call? In other words, does DEI become a form of reparation which America's white majority pays in perpetuity? Because wrong or right, I guarantee that's how many Republicans in the Texas legislature see it.
And thus your word, reparations. Now, at the end of April, UT Dallas, to comply with SB 17, closed an office that was created to replace its previous DEI office. Stephen, I understand there were about 20 layoffs at UTD. Have you heard of any type of new reboot that's coming there?
I haven't heard of that yet, but the president of the university urged other hiring managers at the university to strongly consider those who are being impacted for the job, basically trying to give them preference when it comes to open positions on campus. Now, this is something, of course, a much smaller level here in North Texas than what happened in Austin, but I said partisan, and really is because, I mean, you're going with a talking point. It's the kind of the Republican flavor of the year right now, talking about DEI. But piggybacking off of what Greg said, it's supposed to help level the playing field. And I think more focus should be on trying to fine tune those programs versus just slashing them and saying, hey, look, we did something.
Yeah, kind of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater type thing. I was, kind of wondering about the same thing, which is why I keep on thinking about the rebooting concept. Texas is, one of more than 20 states banning some type of what's been described as woke ideology. Greg, I'm anticipating more crackdowns coming in the legislative session in January. You agree with that?
Rudy, I'd bet the ranch on it. And frankly, it sells big time with the Republican base. And in view of the chaos currently being unleashed on campuses across the country, it's likely to sell with a growing number of moderates and independents. I'm telling you, watching young people who are supposed to be working to complete their higher education instead defy rules and authority, tear up their campuses, threaten fellow students with hateful speech, and then to top it off, demand that their student debt be eventually forgiven, is more than enough evidence for Patrick and allies to justify additional legislative measures aimed at rooting out what they view as woke indoctrination.
Yeah, but you can bet that there's going to be pushback by the left, Democrat state lawmakers. Stephen, Senator Royce Rest from Dallas initially condemned the DEI layoffs. Has he talked about any new ideas, new plans to bring back to Austin to reboot the idea?
I think, multiple people may be privately talking about a reboot, but that's going to be a hard sell. And let's look at the makeup of the legislature, especially the House. Is about to be even more conservative than it's been, and that's saying something with the governor pushing school choice and Ken Paxton trying to get his candidates through. And so a reboot may sound cute, but really look at the realistic nature of this has been a talking point for Republicans, and it doesn't look like they're going to let up. And what Greg mentioned, the Palestine-Israel protests that have been going on college campuses around the state and around the country is just adding fuel to the Republicans' fire of saying, look, we need to stop this from infiltrating the state of Texas. Now, whether that's right, I'm not going to comment on right now. That's a different topic for another day. But reboot may be talked about, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm anticipating a lot of pushback adding on because of what we're seeing with the anti-Israel protests that are happening on campus. And I think everything seems to be getting lumped into just one big bucket. And the Republicans are just going to swing away. What do you think, Greg? Real short.
Look, I want to go back to that original question I have, which is who decides when the playing field is level? Is it the folks who are at a disadvantage? And why would they ever give up any, I guess we called it, a reparation? And when does the level playing field come into play for an entire society? That's my question.
Okay, we're just going to have to end it there. You can see this interview or any of our past interviews by going to our YouTube pages.
And you can also visit our social media sites to continue the conversation.
The Texas Trio will be back next week with another hot button political topic. Until then, don't forget to let us know what you think the issue is.